What's up, majors? Happy New Year. That's the last time I'm going to say it. I think you should only say Happy New Year for about 7 days, and then we need to move on with our lives anyway. What's up? Glad you're with us for this moment. Listen, Genesis 37:5 says, "Now Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more." After Joseph was sold into slavery, he tasted a measure of freedom only to be falsely accused and thrown back into jail. I bet Joseph must have felt like a dream doesn't mean a thing. Let's jump into Joseph's story a little farther down in Genesis chapter 41. So Joseph, at this point, he's gone through a lot of trials, and it says in Genesis 41 verse 1, 2 full years later, Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing on the bank of the Nile River. So Joseph had served as a slave in a man's house, had been falsely accused, put in jail. Now he's in jail. 2 years after that, Pharaoh has this dream. And in his dream, continuing in Genesis 41, in his dream, Pharaoh saw 7 fat, healthy cows come up out of the river, begin grazing in the marsh grass. Then he saw 7 more cows come up from the Nile. The cows stood beside the fat cows on the riverbank. Verse 4, then the scrawny, thin cows ate the 7 healthy, fat cows. At this point in the dream, Pharaoh woke up. I read that part of Genesis 41 and say, what in the name of too much food or too much wine before bed is going on? That seems very weird and trippy to me. But verse 5, it says, but he fell asleep again and had a second dream. And here's the second dream. This time he saw 7 heads of grain, plump and beautiful. Then 7 more heads of grain appeared, but they were shriveled and withered. Verse 7, and then these thin heads swallowed up the 7 plump heads. Then Pharaoh woke up again and realized it was a dream. I don't know. Pharaoh, lay off the chicken wings before bed. This is wild stuff that he's dreaming about. Maybe he had a little bit too much to drink, a rum and Coke that was more rum than Coke. I don't know what he's doing, but he's having some wild dreams. Can we agree that these dreams are trippy? This is some wild stuff to be dreaming. Joseph, he's been detoured and tested, and now he has to deal with someone else's crazy dream. His dream actually ended up with him in jail, a slave and in jail. Now he has someone else's wild dream to deal with. But look at the story, verse 8. The next morning, Pharaoh was very disturbed by the dream. So he called for all the magicians, all the wise men of Egypt. And when Pharaoh told them his dreams, not one of them could tell him what they meant. Pharaoh's dream didn't mean a thing without an interpretation. Now, I'm not trying to stretch the scripture beyond its context, but I can tell you this is very close to what happened and is happening in our cultural moment, especially over the last 4 years. We had a global pandemic that struck, and all the doctors and all the wise men couldn't make sense of what was going on. Then our country erupts in civil unrest and racial upheaval, and all the scholars and sadly, many of the pastors could not tell the world what all of this stuff meant. When the world needed a prophetic voice to stand up with a God-ordained plan, many of the loudest voices had nothing of substance to say. A dream doesn't mean a thing without interpretation, without someone to make sense of it. We can plan, cast vision, build, but when chaos comes, we need a guide, a roadmap, a voice that stands out above the noise. Proverbs 19:21 says, many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. We'll jump back into this story next week.